Ground number 2 here between Simplicity and HeroesHearth.
For anybody wondering maybe why, Jay, how would you pose that as a serious contender? You can look at it this way. At home, 4 out of those 5 players on that roster have had more international experience than a large majority of players in North America can even claim. Other than players like Fan, or maybe, who else is a very consistent representative here? All of Tempo Storm at this point has now gotten to that point, but those are the few, the proud, they can get to that point and say that.
If you're wondering what teams, you might remember them last year at BlizzCon. Deadly Kittens, they won over everybody with their cool shirts. I got one of those. I got to spend a lot of time in the Southeast Asian region casting that 4 times last year. I went over there. A shout out to that crew and the Southeast Asian Heroes team for bringing me out. I got a Deadly Kittens t-shirt. It's no longer mine. My wife said it's too cute, and it's like 3 times her size, but I don't get to keep it anymore. But if you're wondering who they were, that's where they came from. They've been on previous teams before then, but most recently, that would be a name that you would know them under.
I respect that, man. I don't know if with some of the changes that have happened in your life, I just don't know if I could handle somebody trying to take my Deadly Kittens shirt, you know? There's like, you can push some buttons, but that's a line we can't cross. You know what I mean?
It was such a cool shirt. Their logo for last year won everybody over. They played really well, too. It wasn't just the logo. They played well, and they held their own. I think that probably was more important. It helps when you win to make things cooler, and they did that last year.
And also, I think, off camera, pretty cool group of guys for a majority of fans here. But we got ourselves a ban on the Diablo. Bam, bam. No access to the Lord of Terror here yet.
Simplicity. It's been their first ban for weeks now. And I remember we were talking about this when we found out the news. Like, he's not even going to get a chance to play Diablo. Simplicity just bans it no matter what. And you know they would ban it otherwise.
Yeah. It's one of those, like, even if we had it, be like, sure, I'll get rid of it now that I know we got the Stun Master himself. Tomb of the Spider Queen was a better Diablo battleground than Volskaya. Volskaya is not a shabby one whatsoever. Just less stun opportunities within the earlier stages. As we're looking for the first pick, is it going to be the Tyrande or the... No, it's just the Tyrande.
So we saw on Tomb of the Spider Queen last map, HeroesHearth or Simplicity, they banned out Abathur because HeroesHearth will run solo support Abathur on any map. It doesn't matter what map, they will run it. HeroesHearth has a chance with Abathur being let through if they want to get... I mean, they've already gotten weird with the role swaps, bringing Bam Bam in. If they just want to put him in a role to fit that, we'll see if they pick it up early.
I find that dynamic, if they do commit to it, very interesting. Okay, this is cool. The reason for that is when we look at Tyrande, she's great at that single target, one shot, significant amount of burst capabilities. Abathur doesn't have amazing healing. It's good, but it's not amazing. The advantages he has is that he can get multiple heal targets across the globe over periods of time, like with a 4-second cooldown between his symbiote. So dealing with the Tyrande, it removes a body to get killed, but it makes it to where that single target threat towards the front line is going to be that much higher here. And so outside of like the immediate, here's our clones initiating one shot, does the Tyrande composition actually get more damage more frequently than the Abathur solo support heal? And then again, looking at the weaknesses of Tyrande is macro advantages, Abathur's biggest strength. So is the trade-off of the single target burst greater for the Tyrande than the macro advantages gained in the long run for the Abathur? My brain says, nah, Abathur still wins that battle. But I think it's a really cool dynamic that we wouldn't have gotten outside of that Tyrande rework.
You mentioned the macro dynamic. Tahaka, early pickup here for Simplicity, something that Zuna has shown on at times. It definitely helps the dealing with the Abathur side of things. We'll see how that plays out, because once you're in that control point, you've used that Z, might be too much of a walk, you might miss a few minions or two, next thing you know, you're down a half level, then 3/4 of a level, and you're like, man, this Abathur, this is where he really comes into play. So it is up to HeroesHearth to draft more heroes. Everything that when we see these style of compositions with the solo support Abathur, everybody has to have mobility, some type of self-sustain, or a mix of the both. Muradin has been a staple of a lot of those. Genji has the mobility, has the deflect. That's one element they're going to need more.
What are they going to back this Genji Abathur with? And it turns out it's a variant. And Jay, how I have no reason to believe that's not a twin blade. I'm going with it.
But hold on. Okay, hold on. Let me wrap my head around this real quick, because you got to throw Bam Bam into the equation.
Yeah.
Does he just go full smash?
You mean you're talking about Colossus Smash?
Yeah.
I that's cool. I'm cool with Colossus Smash too. I just don't want taunt. I can tell you that.
It's not as fun.
Yeah, it's just not as a lot of things in my heart.
Ooh, that is if it is Twin Blades Varian, that is a terrible combo.
But if it's C Smash, then it's a
to
lot
go
better.
into.
Yeah, then it's a lot better because Arthas is one of the more easy targets to be able to get that one-shot capabilities. When you pair that with a double Genji switch striking in, a lot of targets die really fast, J-How. It's a pretty easy 1-2 punch. But it may be the taunt set up there to make sure that when the double Swift Strike comes in, both Swift Strikes make point of contact and are very threatening. There is the last pick into the Zeratul. I want to highlight that I think that Zeratul pick was huge in this game. Absolutely colossal. To have a Uther double support on the other side with a solo support Abathur. Remember a lot of my fears about the time around the skirmishing and getting out supported by the Trond in the raw skirmishing and not having that trade-offs. Zeratul in the laning phase going to provide more threat and dynamic. The chaos provided by having the clone onto the Zeratul, equally as threatening there. And you just bought yourself another rotation of an Abathur hat and heal within a minimum of 1 Void Prison. That is huge.
I really wonder if we'll ever get, because it was a thing at the beginning of this year, Might of the Nerazim, when we saw the reworked Zeratul, the auto attack build was the go-to then. We've gone into the Q build with the cleave. VP definitely does solve a lot of those issues, I think, in that situation, but I always wonder when we'll get that return, because late game, it can be, I mean, it's like double support it does require you to get to 16 post 20, but once you get 16 and you can get a couple of those Qs going, you don't get the bonus of the talents on the second Might of the Nerazim, but you're getting the bonus of the 16. So there's a lot of damage output, but VP in this situation makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, hopefully if we do end up seeing that, we see the intricacies of the trade-off between the Divine Shield and Void Prison. One of my favorite math problems of being an Uther player is trying to figure out where is the Zeratul? Am I close enough to the targets to effectively heal them if they're in a very problematic situation? Can I get a good Hammer of Justice to deal with this? And then am I far enough away from the Void targets that I can get a Divine Shield onto the target that needs to survive? It's a really fun, and I say that and probably it's not so fun, but I thought it was entertaining trying to master that puzzle.
So the reason Varian into this composition works, the AoE from Arthas will slow your auto attacks, stacking. Uther, point and click stun. Tyrande can follow up on any of that. If Dahaka's nearby, it can always land a drag. That's several forms of lockdown. We have Rhyme picked up. Rainer's not exactly the executioner. He can dish out some damage, but if you see that Varian coming in, if we get Twin Blades and the healing at level 7, you get knocked back with the penetrating round. You have several ways of dealing with that style of play. High King's Quest was picked up. So just maybe we'll get another Twin Blades game.
I honestly feel like it is going to become more and more meta as time's gone on.
That was right on his heels.
It was.
Like Crowan got nipped by that cold embrace.
One of the bigger things to point out too, I think, when considering the difference between the Twin Blades versus any other iteration, I still think if we see it's going to be Colossus Smash if it's not the Twin Blade pickup. It's the self-sustain provided by Twin Blades. When you have that solo Abathur, that's what you're looking for, is everybody to have that. Genji's got it for the most part between his mobility and his deflex. Zeratul has it-ish. He's the worst on the team, just purely based on his teleport, though it's good enough. And then Yrel, we know what her armor situation looks like.
I think you probably bring up the biggest argument for that is the self-sustain more than anything outside of this. If it's a more normal composition, maybe not, but that self-sustain is where Twin Blades really shines. As Ishbu goes in, we'll get the knockback, has the Abathur hat, but they've re-engaged here. Ishbu, see if he can survive on this. He is staying on this until he dies, trying to trade out, unable to do so. Zuna comes in just to make sure in case things get extended. Simplicity with first blood and an early victory.
Yeah, and you know, this is a little bit different of a composition from HeroesHearth. This is a little bit from their normal, as we see the mines all hit up. That is not a full mine build Abathur, though.
That's a level 1 that probably still doesn't take down that Dahaka there.
Yeah, that's a good call, especially with the passive use there.
I've done that a lot in my Abathur games.
You're that guy. You know, scout with them,
Dude,
you just set up the trap.
I'm like a level 50-something Abathur. You got to play around sometimes.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it.
Or a lot of times.
Twin Blades.
ADRD did it in competitive play, and I saw him get a few kills. There's still one on Towers of Doom. I remember watching the screen and laughing. I think we were at an event. I remember laughing so hard at that because I thought it was glorious. Twin Blades picked up here, Dreadnought.
going to help a lot when it comes to the skirmishes. Interesting choice when looking towards the Arthas. That's an Icy Talon, I believe, pick up there. And that is auto attack speed increase, which makes us wonder, are we going to get ourselves the rune tap? I think so.
Well, it's one way to trade out in that situation. You can slow the auto attacks. That helps. But the minute you start dishing out some more damage of your own, it does make it more and more difficult for that variant to trade out in those situations. One cool change, I really wonder, I'm waiting for somebody to crunch the numbers. The Arthas change on his trait, going from 12 to 10 seconds, knowing that you get that bonus damage there, that's going to be a fun one to look out for as teams have started to drift closer and closer to making Arthas a thing, with Tempo Storm most recently and some other teams adapting it. It's going to be fun to watch on how impactful that minor change can be. It's good for the mana, but the damage burst output is also there.
Yeah, it is. Zertul still got the hat on top to be able to deal with the Haka. It's 47% and counting here for Simplicity over control point A, but a threat there of the Genji on bot lane. Hat coming out a little bit later than maybe desired, but Tiger JK forced a tap, and that is a victory here. As McIntyre and K1 Pro taking a bit of a scuttle between one another. K1 Pro coming out on top of that.
Simplicity's draft Dreadnought with the Tyrande, getting the spell armor there, dealing with some of that. Ooh, they are threatening that. Dealing with some of the Zeratul dive. And then the armor coming in multiple ways with Uther there. They have tools to deal with the initial burst. They also have a protector here, which will burst this down. With the Abathur on the other side and the Mule being shown, fort walls is not enough, Dreadnought. They need to get forts, and the amount of damage they've already taken, that seems highly unlikely now.
Yeah, the amount of damage taken was a pretty big setback here for Simplicity. As you had pointed out, that they need to make a lot happen with the objective itself. I think forts are ideal. But even then, I'm not sure with the composition that HeroesHearth has, they can get away with it. That in mind, the amount of damage this objective has taken was a little bit too much too fast, in my opinion. Krohn, though, drops a deflect. Lunar Flare, not going to land there. Without that level 4 pickup, that was actually a max range Lunar Flare, and part of the reason that wasn't a kill. Not saying that the True Shot Aura was a poor choice, because as the game moves on, Raynor is going to have a heyday, especially with the Icy Talons pickup. It'll be interesting how that works out.
I kind of, we talked about Icy Talons, but the True Shot with that, I'm glad you pointed that out. I kind of let that skip past me. That's going to be a fun one. True Shot giving that bonus one. This is pre-nerfs on that too, so some added bonus auto attack damage will be fun to watch.
Yeah, it will be interesting, but that's also part of the reason why Hosey had a kind of a little bit of a weird Lunar Flare there compared to what we normally see, because normally you look at that and you'd be like, why did he throw it on half on the turret? And you're like, oh, wait a minute, he literally just doesn't have the range on his build.
Slight lead here for Simplicity as we're rounding 10 in a moment. Camp picked up. Nice jump and experience for them. We got an invade. They're taking another camp. Simplicity will grab the support camp with the Bionic Emitter.
Suna lands the drag. That's a Dark Swarm, so he can be body blocked over the next couple of seconds, and that is Krohn trying to make that happen. Hammer out from Ishbu. Drag up in a second. As we see the Heroics picked up. Isolation is the choice. Divine Storm. Tiger JK is about to get the Hammer of Justice Storm Dream. Storm, Starfall, Divine Storm. One of the most underestimated double support combos in the game. I feel like they are ridiculous amount of utility. I always feel like Divine Storm's a little underestimated, but how do I say this? The survivability and effectiveness of Void Prison just skyrocketed throughout this game. Yes, if the Dream Initiation's there, Simplicity is going to have a really good time, but I just wonder how often is Uther going to be able to make it into position to even get an effective Divine Storm? As we see that really great pickoff throughout mid and continued pressure here on bottom from HeroesHearth.
They are all in. King Caffeine, that shows the veteran side of King Caffeine. Doesn't worry about his aura, doesn't worry about walking it, he's fine. Will root when he has to, makes his way back, finds his way to safety, will look to try and defend, lands another root, but with these minions here,
Bam Bam's in there.
That is a Twin Blades variant ripping apart this. He has the charge talent at 10, so he can dance around, can also charge to allies. So if he gets in too far, can kind of use that.
They got a Storm. And you saw Ishbu actually knock back that Divine Storm opportunity. Zuna now coming in from above. There's got to be a Howling Blast. Isolation lands, but he's already on the conveyor belt. King Caffeine will have the Howling Blast in a matter of seconds as we see Urel try to cut away. She's going to be the first to drop. Tiger comes in with the Hammer of Justice. Abathur heat shield there. There's a Hammer of Justice mixed with the Divine Storm. No kill acquired.
Does he have a drag? Got him. Can he get the kill?
X-Strike.
X-Strike
Swift
out.
Strike.
Hosty. Does he have the snipe?
No, he doesn't. Even if he does, I don't think he has enough damage.
Too much. Yeah. Old Tyrande, maybe.
Maybe old Tyrande, yeah. Well done here by HeroesHearth Esports to be able to retreat from a very, very tough situation.
My favorite part about that is the recognition of both teams. The reason why you saw Crowan when they were running left along that conveyor belt was Crowan was simply a target for Bam Bam on that variant to charge to. Since you can charge to allies post 10 with the pickup, it gave him a charged target. Speaking of charged targets, Zuna is one of those. But it gives you that opportunity. Had he not been isolated in that situation, he would have charged over and made it over. And making every use of a Twin Blades variant, they will burst through some structures in that bot lane.
I really like the off-lane pressure that we see being applied with the Twin Blades. You know, very Illidan-esque in that sense as well. Just using the ridiculous auto-attack damage and procs to get that off-lane threat.
Every time I see teams get that off-lane pressure and just like, well, you know, we can, instead of doing this, we just do this. You have to respond eventually, and we already have an advantage. Sylvanas.
What I think we see coming to light to a certain extent, J-Hal, is because so much has shifted experience-wise to the main structures, not just front walls, as we see a Swift Strike in. Hosty not able to survive that. X-Strike there. Drag gonna land afterwards. Is Isolation up? It is. Will he pop it? No mana on Crowan as Ishbu able to mount up using that level 7. McIntyre delaying on the back end, and this is just back and forth, man. Oh, this is pretty.
Yeah, they saw McIntyre. This reminds me of Glaurung on the Lost Vikings, but this is a lot more difficult to execute. McIntyre revealed on one side. Ishbu with the Abathur hat is holding his own. There's the BP, and now he's going in on K1 Pro. McIntyre styling on some people out here. Comes in, he's like jebaited all the way home. We'll go ahead and have this contested. Ardent Defender used
really early.
The isolation.
Yeah, that Ardent Defender very early, but now we see Bam Bam joining in with the rest of the fight. Divine Storm comes in, and they find a kill onto Ishbu. McIntyre trying to redeem some of the points back to himself as he's 33% HP. Crowan comes in, BBJ there with the clone. Now Hosty is going to join in with the rest of the squad, dropping the autos down. Reset number 1 onto Bam Bam. They do get the kill. Crowan has a Swift Strike in a couple of seconds, but this is an objective here for Simplicity.
It cost them a keep, though. When we eyeball that mini-map, we can see that keep did fall. So an advantage for HeroesHearth in the end of it. Level and a half lead. We mentioned earlier making a lot happen with the objective. Right now, Simplicity, they have to make a lot happen to start to even this game up. McIntyre, post 16 Dreadnought will be terrifying. Makes use of the wormhole. Nice dive in, nice dive out.
With only the top 4 falling here by Simplicity and the 16 being so close, HeroesHearth Esports has a lot to make happen here over the battleground. Knowing that control point C is the next point too, it's going to be interesting to see where HeroesHearth decides to apply pressure, J-How. As it's, do you go mid because that's where it closest to the objective spawning in the long run, as that was a nice snipe onto the mule here from Simplicity. 16 Talenters now here. Simplicity needs to be careful. K1 Pro getting threatened there as McIntyre vorpals in. Bam Bam unable to find a target. Revealed there after the Punisher goes down.
Ishbu with the knockback. Will buy space and time. HeroesHearth able to walk away in the middle of that fight. Simplicity will look to try and get 16. Zeratol's shown at bottom, so Dahaka will make the early rotation up. Maybe they can take this if they're Simplicity.
Also, I'd like to see Tiger try and flank a little bit with these Divine Storms. If he's going to be the Divine Storm target and really... When you play Divine Storm in this type of meta, and just in general, you pretty much have to accept your life doesn't matter until 16. Once you hit Benediction, you have an opportunity to save yourself and make big plays, but until then, your big Divine Storm value is usually a better trade-up for your team here. So I want to see more flanking positionings around that, as we've only gotten like 1 to 2 uses, and it's already only been on really just kills that were already going to be happening. I don't think that's so much a misplay on his end as it is getting out macroed by HeroesHearth Esports, and it's difficult.
Another stolen turret camp. The Biotic Emitter picked up by Simplicity. HeroesHearth happily collecting the turrets along the way. They've used those to their advantage to siege up on structures to try and take over team fights. Bam Bam might have overstepped his bounds a little, Dreadnought. He is not making it out of here alive.
McIntyre was there for a void for a second, questioning if it would be worth the trade, but decide 45 seconds without a Bam Bam is going to be worth it here rather than the long while without that void prison. Still, though it is a silver lining for Simplicity, HeroesHearth still with a pretty significant advantage, both in experience and in macro pressure due to those catapults on bottom. So got to find ways to get more of those.
It's always a silver lining for Simplicity when the objective is in the lane that you have the catapults in. Makes for an easier defense. You do, depending on the timing, how fast you can clear that out, you'll give up lane control in terms of vision for a period of time, but you can always make that up and then re-engage around that without the threat of losing your core. So for Simplicity, they'll have that chance to take a fight on even talent tiers and maybe try and turn this around. They've obtained 2 protectors. They just have only managed to take down 1 fort with that, and a mule on the other side. You don't confirm structures, that mule will just heal it right back up.
HeroesHearth with the tri-lane pressure on top. Crowan in a tough situation for a second there. Swift strikes on out. They have the pressure on top. We got 20 seconds till control point C, and now suddenly Simplicity's got to start answering the question of, if HeroesHearth never goes to the control point, is it worth it? Last time, I would say it was a clear no. This time, they already start the pressure 20 seconds before the map objective spawns, and all of Simplicity still goes bottom, J-How. This is a fool me once type situation, I feel, at this point.
Yeah, they're just going to push in again. One thing to note for Bam Bam on that High King's quest, they only have 4 kills as a team.
1 more, and you'll get all 3 of the quests completed.
It also determines on if he was nearby. Let me check on that for you. He's actually only been near one of those Dreadnoughts, so he only has 1 out of those 5 stacks.
But if he can complete those, again, the stacking works a lot there. Divine Storm with the Switch Strike and the X-Strike going to be dropped. Tiger JK actually survives. BBJ goes in with that reset, but the auto attacks are there. The Hammer of Justice stops it. No reset available for either Genji, and percentage acquired here on bottom. My goodness. Said it was a fool me once type situation, and Simplicity quickly said, we're not going to be fooled again.
Nice knockback will buy Bam Bam some space, but the drag is going to land there by Zuna. The follow-up instantly with that Lunar Flare from Hosty will lock down, take another kill.
Level 20 talent tier will be here during the siege time frame of this bottom objective. Picked up there by Simplicity. And already a few concerns, J-How, on finishing the objective at the time frame that they did. There's a lot of time frame that this objective is not pushing on behalf of Simplicity here. Still now about 20-25 seconds in, and it's just now making its first look. As Hammer of Justice comes through on that Swift Strike. Lunar Flare dodge not going to be there. They stop the deflect too.
Look, there's times you'll accidentally interrupt somebody in a Swift Strike, and then there's times where it's calculated, and he landed that at almost the perfect time. This Protector, only the driver, no gunner, and with 45% left on this Dreadnought, they have struggled to get the structures I thought they could. They'll have a chance to maybe get through this and get the keep, but it's been a tough defense each time by HeroesHearth.
It has been. And I think the best way to highlight that is that HeroesHearth Esports has been comfortable sacrificing some of their experience advantage for that macro advantage, both with the damage on bottom and the damage on top. As we see the mule go down, they're going to have to focus on getting that. They do get the snipe there. Ishbu made his way out. K1 Pro has the damage to secure the first keep of the game here for Simplicity. And it's almost a dead even game at this point, minus the extra damage done towards the top half. And now Zerato's flanking. He will have a void, can lock him down for 5 seconds if he needs. McIntyre has the hat. Hosty. Ooh, that was a very scary mount position there.
Well, Dahaka had to go back. Zeratul was pushing out the bottom lane, forcing Dahaka to rotate back, deal with the mounting catapult pressure. Simplicity will grab another Biotic Emitter. They're going to try and gank Zuna.
Somebody takes that sidewall in a less suspicious position, they would be able to gank that a little bit easier.
Okay,
K1 Pro. Oh my goodness. Ishbu leaps in, doesn't connect. Hosty already with the Starfall. Switch Strike comes in. Damage out from Bam Bam, and Hosty's out of here. McIntyre already drops the Void Prison. Bam Bam's going to be the focus as we see the drag not connect there from Zuna. Switch Strike coming through once more. Hammer back. Mac hits a nice rending cleave there as he goes back in. BBJ are now on the clone, diving K1 Pro. But King Caffeine, a huge contagion, a huge Divine Storm. Ardent Defender going to be popped, but Crowan has to Switch Strike out. Bam Bam gets Howling Blasted. Frostborn hungers, but it will not feed today as we see him make it out. McIntyre now with the teleport in a couple of seconds. Gets the heal, gets the movement speed. I am in absolute awe that HeroesHearth made it out. That was disturbing.
Crowan getting out, the contagion was monstrous in the middle of that. They were so close to getting, if they take down those two members they missed, it's likely snowball game go down mid. Instead, Crowan trailed back, saying, Bam Bam, I got you, just come over here. Hive Mind picked up at level 20, giving the double shield there in case one of those Frostborn Army of the Dead comes out. Tickles Bam Bam because he was a tickle away from going down there.
And now back to even here as we have control point A going to be the next. Positionally speaking here, trying to see if there's a major advantage. There is quite a big advantage for Simplicity based on middle lane's the closest lane to control point A, and they're always going to have the pressure with the keep advantage for themselves. But bottom is far enough away that it does provide that offlane pressure. Going to be forcing a visual brush stock out of the Dahaka. Beautiful Howling Blast there. Gets the dismount as McIntyre comes through with a teleport.
That movement speed at 16, whenever there is that pursuit option from Abathur, will just allow a lot of heroes to walk away from that. Zuna, we saw on the right side, will Hearth back to deal with that pressure in the bottom lane again, but the control point 18 seconds away. Simplicity has fought strong, they fought well. They're up in kills. And for what it's worth, Dredd, the last handful of minutes seems like it's been their game.
It has been. Ishbu is now going to go ahead and just move up to the core. Use the Abathur hat and just decide to start threatening the game. Twin Blades Varian going to be joining in as well. Can we see Zeratul hold things off long enough? He does have a Void. He can wormhole back and do that if you like to do so. Not going to be the case here as HeroesHearth now retreat on bottom.
They have 3 turrets. 3 turrets. McIntyre will find King Caffeine, knowing that the rest of Simplicity is behind. See if Bam Bam and team try and make a fight here, but King Caffeine threatening will force them of HeroesHearth to back away.
McIntyre and friends have the opportunity to make their way up towards top and backdoor that top keep if they would like. Bam Bam's already showing that may be the interest of the decision making, but I think you should have sent the Zeratul to get the clear on the wave first, then have Bam Bam go later, as that now shows the decision making very clearly on behalf of HeroesHearth Esports. Genji and Yrel now threatening the backdoor on bottom. That's not enough for core, and the question is, does Simplicity overreact? They need to send about 1 other member at most in that type of situation, and sending somebody other than Tyrande or Uther, I feel, is a bit of a misallocation of resources. Duna lands a drag. Sephiroth's used Hammer of Justice #1. Divine Storm after the Benediction. Doesn't come through as the Ardent Defender's there. Stun, Storm, not available, so never going to happen, and they get the kill.
Crowan, he's trying to trade out for now. The clone's going to come out as well, but the stun instantly onto that. BBJ clone takes a lot of damage, but Hosty's found himself Crowan there on the side. Not able to get the takedown, but the root comes in. King Caffeine, he's trying to track him down. Crowan with the X-ray, but the Death Coil will reel it in there. The snipe from long distance for King Caffeine.
And meanwhile, in his natural habitat here is Bam Bam. Picking up another keep there on the Twin Blades Varian. Comes at the cost of the objective. And Jayhow, this objective, 21 minutes in, that protector can just end.
Yeah.
This is, HeroesHearth has to find a way to be able to hold this off. They have the Void to defend the game, but an Abathur and a Twin Blade is not enough to solo against the Dahaka. They've got it all in the game right now, and that's why you see K1 Pro and friends backing.
Well, Bam Bam, he already has the slow. That actually helps take the keep shots, but now he's not able to escape out of there. The BP will buy time for now, but King Caffeine is here. That's going to be enough for a takedown. Simplicity marching directly to the core, and this should be enough. HeroesHearth will have a near impossible defense as McIntyre just playing juking and jiving. But the shields have fallen, the core starting to fall inside of HeroesHearth. Simplicity going to even this up 1-1.
Simplicity holds on here in game number 2. after a very difficult opener here on Volskaya Foundry. But Divine Storm holds true here today, Jay-Hao.
Divine Storm versus Twin Blades Varian. The Arthas pickup was magnificent there to deal with that. That snipe there at the end. King Caffeine put himself in excellent position. He walked directly over to that X-Strike. He's like, if you're going to X-Strike here, I'm going to meet you. And Curlin's mashing that E key as fast as he can. And King Caffeine's mashing that Q key. And he's like, as you go, this little green thing will follow you. Snipe dead. That should have been the nail in the coffin. The writing was already on the wall, because even if Curlin gets out of that situation, he's got a Hearth back, and that still would be a tough defense against the Protectors. So shout-outs to Simplicity. The second half, or the second third, or the last third of that game was very much in their control. It was fun.
I think the best way I look at some of the shot calling that was made is it was a common technique that I use a lot, that I feel like HeroesHearth is one of the few teams comfortable kind of going in this direction. It's going I know I can't end the game, but I might be able to get to your emotions and make you think I can. And if I can, then I suddenly gained a huge macro advantage in a situation I had no right earning that. And that's why you saw those two-man commitment. It's like, hey, are you worried about your core? Because that can get like 30, 40% damage, but if you lose the objective that late, that 40% damage doesn't matter. So it's like one of those weird situations, because usually when people go, oh man, I'm taking any damage on my core, they start going, yeah, get people back, this can't happen. Like they overreact. And so I think that was what you were seeing, but Simplicity never took the bait, punished effectively, picked up the two Protectors, and I mean, at that point, it's just right-click the core.
Simplicity finding their way back into the series. It's tied up 1-1. We're going to a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll have more action underway. See you then.